I've read the votes, etc., and I have everything that we need to proceed with the meeting. Any thoughts, or should we just go straight in? Is everyone with us?
Straight in.
Yeah.
I had my hair cut yesterday, Scott. How am I doing? Is that okay? Okay, let's begin. So it's appropriate that we begin by acknowledging that the district of Saanich lies within the territories of the Wahongun peoples represented by the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations, and the Wasanix peoples represented by the Scarlet, Quechua, Seacom, and Malahat nations. We are committed to celebrating the rich diversity of people in our community. We are guided by the principle that embracing diversity enriches the lives of all people. We all share the responsibility for creating an equitable and inclusive community for addressing discrimination in all its forms. Having read that, I'd just like to make a note at this point. What we did at council is move this so each member of council read alternatively. So what I'd like to do going forward is have, in future, each member of the board would read it, and then we'll go to the next one, go to the next one. And Shelley, in the last board meeting, with a motion through you, we did say that we'd have your input and the inclusion stakeholders committee input on the diversity piece. So at some point we'll come back to that business. Did you have any comments on that at this point?
At this current time, no, Chair, but I do think that when it's appropriate and brought in, I will.
Thank you. Love your glasses, by the way.
Thank you.
Glasses envy. Okay, so first item of the public business is presentation by Ms. George, former police secretary. And I'm delighted to have, she can't really read, but let me see if I can put the brown behind it. This has some script on it, which I'm going to read in a moment. And we have a lovely gift certificate. Is Lynn with us today, Scott? Lovely gift certificate. Oh,
I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
These are both for Lynn, right? Not one for me and one for Lynn, right? Okay. So let me read this for you from the Saanich Police Department. Lynn George, in sincere appreciation and recognition of your outstanding service to the police board. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Members of the board, would you like to say something? Yeah, thank you. I'll bring this over afterwards. Any member of the board like to speak? Because we've known Lynn for so many years in that role. Feel free.
Just
Mary?
Well, just to add my thanks to Lynn and a great appreciation for all that she's done for the board and that she continues, of course, to do for the department as well. So it's great. We haven't lost her, but
No.
We have great memories of the good work you've done.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Lynn. Okay, and I'll come by later. And you get the gift card too. Next item, a presentation of Citizens Award. Chief, what you got going on for us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Saanich Policy AC10 commendations provides a mechanism by which the department can formally recognize and acknowledge exceptional performance on the part of employees, volunteers, and external parties, including members of the public. Today, we want to formally recognize 4 members of the public for their assistance in saving the life of a 7-year-old autistic child on February 8th, 2021. When recognizing such incredible citizenry, we normally host an in-person awards ceremony at the Saanich Police Department during the public portion of the police board meeting. But unfortunately, like many other events and recognition ceremonies, COVID-19 restrictions don't permit us to do that today. But we've adapted by holding this virtual ceremony, which is being recorded in order for today's recipients to watch it later and whenever they desire, as it will live on our website. So before I begin with reading out the circumstances and the persons involved, I want to thank Constable Kristen Andrew for making the nomination, the Recognition Board for supporting it and bringing it to the attention of the Office of the Chief Constable, and to Deputy Chief Gary Schenk for taking the lead on this matter, authoring the related correspondence to our recipients, and ensuring they receive their certificate, in advance of today's ceremony. I'll now read out the award and related circumstances. So this is a Citizens Life-Saving Awards and Recognition in relation to Saanich File 21-3056. On the afternoon of February the 8th, 2021, the Saanich Police responded to a 911 call from Craigflower Elementary, reporting that a 7-year-old autistic child had fled from his classroom and was running towards the Trans-Canada Highway. Patrick and Elita Young observed the boy running on Admirals Road and immediately recognized that he appeared to be in distress. They called out to the boy and attempted to chase him, and were able to maintain visual observation to provide updates of his location. As the boy reached the interchange at the Trans-Canada Highway, he ran into traffic, causing vehicles to swerve to avoid striking him. Mr. Spencer Galiski was driving a semi-truck and observed the boy running against the flow of traffic in the middle of Mackenzie Avenue off-ramp. Mr. Galiski reacted immediately by stopping his truck in traffic and strategically positioning it in the middle of the lane to block and slow traffic to prevent the boy from being struck. Mr. Galiski then got out of his truck and attempted to stop the boy. However, he continued to run in the middle of the road. Mr. Cody Prowse was also driving a semi-truck and observed Mr. Galiski chasing the boy. Mr. Prowse brought his truck to a stop in the middle of the road to help keep the boy safe from the heavy flow of traffic that was then going around Mr. Galiski's parked truck. Mr. Galiski made an unsuccessful attempt to grab the boy, and vehicles continued to swerve around the boy, and it appeared that he was intending to jump over the concrete barrier into traffic on the Trans-Canada Highway. Mr. Prowse recognized the imminent danger and reacted very swiftly, intercepting the boy and using his body to physically restrain him against the concrete barrier and shield him from passing vehicles. Mr. Prowse displayed great courage by putting himself in harm's way to come to the aid of a child in distress and protect him from harm. Together, the witnesses were able to remove the boy to safety and supported him until police arrived. The attending officers determined that if it were not for the brave and selfless actions of these 4 citizens, this dramatic incident could have resulted in a potentially tragic outcome. Based on a nomination from Constable Kristen Andrew, Mr. Cody Prowse and Mr. Spencer Galiski have been awarded a Citizens Life-Saving Award in recognition of an overt act in which a citizen saves or attempts to save the life of another. For outstanding service and valuable assistance rendered to the Saanich Police Department, Patrick and Elita Young have been awarded a Citizen's Certificate of Recognition. All 4 presentations are made virtually here today at the May 4th, 2021 Saanich Police Board meeting. I know I speak on behalf of the board and the entire department when I say to Cody, Spencer, Patrick, and Elita, we can't thank you enough for your assistance and bravery on February the 8th, 2021. Your selfless actions and commitment to ensuring the safety and well-being of this vulnerable young boy is a testament to who each of you are as citizens and as human beings, and we are eternally grateful for everything you did on that day. You should be very proud of your actions, as you saved an innocent life, and that will never be forgotten. I want to thank you and turn it over to Mayor Haynes to say a few words.
So, Chief, when we hear people taking actions like these, it gives us faith in the human spirit and the human community that we're part of. That these total strangers could recognize imminent danger for someone they didn't know and take action such as they did, clearly also putting their own well-being at risk with the traffic. It's remarkable. It's truly remarkable. I apologize. So to have this recognition is so appropriate and so meaningful. It's unfortunate in a way that we're doing it in the virtual circumstance because it doesn't do full justice to the recognition that's deserved for these 4 people. From the half of the board and the department, thank you so much to all the residents who participated, and to the young boy, Godspeed. I hope things go well for you and whatever is upsetting you can be remedied, and your parents and the school will be a safe environment for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So we'll go on to the next item, which is approval of the agenda board. Does anybody have any changes or corrections to the agenda? If not, a motion to approve, please. Moved by Mary, second by Linda. Those in favour? Thank you. Any opposed? We'll do it that way. Any opposed? Thank you. Is Jacqueline with us? I see. Is Jacqueline with us today? No. Okay. Thank you. So the agenda is approved. Next item is the minutes, which you have seen. I have a copy here. Any corrections or changes to the minutes? Another great job by Anita. Any, I'll call the vote. We need a vote to approve the minutes, please, board. Moved by Linda, second by Barwan. Those in favour? Any opposed? Thank you, none opposed. Minutes are approved. I'll bring a signed copy over this afternoon. Any correspondence? Seeing none, let's move on. Any new business arising? I'll just mention for you that last night, by unanimous vote, Council decided not to proceed with the expression of interest from the British Columbia Lottery Corporation for invitation to explore the idea of a hotel entertainment casino complex in Saanich. I can give more details on that, but that's the new business I'll report out now. For the sake of time of this meeting, I'll leave it at that. Divisional updates as needed. 7.1 is an administration report, and it's Inspector Harris. Scott, would you like to introduce that?
Yes, Inspector Daryl Harris is with us today. He's in charge of the administration division, and he'll be presenting his report. And we will have another report by Inspector Morgan, but that will be in camera. So I'll ask Inspector Harris to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Can everyone hear me well?
Fantastic, Darryl.
Okay, so today it's my pleasure to give the annual administration division report to the Saanich Police Board. But before I begin, I'd like to personally welcome our two most recent members to the board, Shelley and Jacqueline, who understand isn't here, and as well congratulate Bowen on his reappointment to the board. So congratulations, Bowen and Shelley and Jacqueline. So my report this year is going to focus on the many work groups within the administration division and their roles. This division is a blend of exempt employees, police association employees, QP employees, and contracted employees. As the officer in charge of the division, I'm fortunate to be supported by a group of excellent managers and supervisors who assist in moving the division mandate forward, which essentially is to support the operational and administrative requirements of the department. This division has a leadership team of 6. The team, which includes myself, Sarah Erb, our manager of administrative services, Bill Kempthorne, our manager of IT services, Staff Sergeant Mark Chateau, who is the division staff sergeant, Sergeant Paula Howie is a division sergeant, and we also have a record supervisor position, which is currently vacant, but we're moving to fill that hopefully in the next couple of months. And of course, we are supported by over 38 professional and dedicated employees within the division. So the division itself is a broad and comprehensive mix of responsibilities and work groups. In fact, there are 15 different work groups within our division. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of these work groups and not in any specific order. So we'll start with our front desk staff. Our front desk staff is comprised of 2 police officers, Chris Dukeshire and Rob Parsons, and a police service representative, Colleen Grayon. And I'm sure many, if not all of you, have met them over your time as part of the police board. These 3 are considered the face of the Saanich Police, and their responsibilities are to answer day-to-day questions from the public, provide security for our cell block, provide non-criminal fingerprinting services and police information checks, as well as an abundance of other duties. The importance of this position or these positions was never more apparent than in the past year. Due to their commitment, resolve, and problem solving, SPD has been successful in not only remaining available to the public 24/7 through carefully created safety precautions. This staff, they now have the added responsibility of conducting health checks for any non-staff that are required to come into our building, which is important to keep our members safe. And then moving over to Kevin Nunn, who is our equipment officer and works in our quartermaster stores. So Kevin is responsible for the procurement and tracking of all frontline police uniforms, equipment, and various weapon systems. For example, a frontline police officer is issued over 70 items of equipment to support them in their role. Kevin's ability to acquire equipment through his many contacts became more evident over the past year during the pandemic. when he was able to acquire much needed personal protection equipment and shared protective equipment to keep our staff safe when other agencies were having very much difficulty in requiring the same items. Moving next is our exhibit property control. Margaret Greenway is our exhibit control officer, and her responsibilities is to ensure all exhibits and property are entered and secured correctly as they await final disposition, such as the support disposition for supporting a criminal charge or awaiting disposal. Then we move over to our animal control officers, who in the last year recently had a name change from pound inspectors. These officers are responsible for educating and enforcing the district's animal bylaws. Currently, there are two projects underway, which are being coordinated by our admin Sergeant Paula Howie. One project is focusing on dog licensing and payment. The other project, which is only beginning, will focus on the education and enforcement at our highest problem parks as we deal with dogs in our parks during peak summer, our spring and summer months. The next work group I want to talk about is our information technology. So IT is comprised right now of 3 senior techs and 1 application support position, which of course is managed by Bill Kempthorne. The realization of the application support position in August 2020 has been a much welcome addition and has actually created capacity for our senior techs to focus on their long-term projects. Some of the front-facing projects that IT is working on this year include updating the remaining CCTV cameras to an IP-based system, both inside and outside our building. We're going to be rolling out new desktop computers and laptop replacement, which will occur in the fall. And finally, there's going to be an AV upgrade to the Kirby room. This will include new cameras, a new sound system, and the ability to live stream meetings such as this, and ceremonies such as badge presentations and promotions, etc. That should be realized in the second part of 2021. Next, move over to our information and privacy coordinator, who is, as you know, is Justin Hutchinson, and he is supported by Tina Ashmore, who is our FOI clerk. Besides Justin's day-to-day work, he is called upon several times to respond to FOI requests from external agencies, including providing data and stats to interest and advocacy groups and other agencies such as media. Then we move on to probably the biggest part of the administration division, which is our record section. So the record section is managed by Sarah Erb, who has been in this position for the past 3 months. Sarah was our previous prime coordinator, and with this, she brings an abundance of technical skill and experience. Sarah fits well with the senior leadership team's commitment to emotional, intelligent leaders that demonstrate a servant leadership style. I just want to share with you a recent example of how Sarah cared for her staff. This occurred over the past weekend. On Saturday, Sarah learned that vaccinations were now available to all staff, including civilians. Knowing this, she came into work on her own time, spent 2 hours, and personally called each of her employees to let them know and be aware of this excellent news. And many were on their days off. They would not have had access to department emails. And from this, we actually had a couple of staff up here that went in for their vaccinations on Monday. So I'm really impressed with Sarah's thoughtfulness on that. So the following work groups make up the record section, which Sarah is ultimately in charge of or manages. Record support clerks. Currently, we have 8 full-time record support clerks and 6 casual record support clerks. These are the staff who work at our switchboard and are the first point of contact for all non-emergency calls to SPD. On average, they receive approximately 100 calls every 24 hours. With this, we use our record support clerks, and 2 of them are assigned to each patrol shift and support the shift with such responsibilities as transcribing dictations, managing records, researching arrest warrants, etc. Prime coordinator, the position that Sarah left for her new manager position is now Ben Manning is now our prime coordinator, and he is responsible for managing our police information management environment, which is a system and platform that is used throughout BC law enforcement. Ben is kept busy learning this new important position, and his key responsibilities include carrying out the operational and administrative functions of our records management system. This is where we capture our police information, investigative files, and our reports to Crown Counsel. Ben is also responsible for training all staff on these different systems. Court administrative services. Our court staff has evolved over the past few years as a result of pressures and new mandates imposed from the Provincial Prosecution Service. Our staff now work 7 days a week over 365 days a year, with their primary role in supporting the patrol and detective divisions on in-custody arrests that require immediate telebail proceedings. Another of their important roles is they're responsible for reviewing all Crown Counsel reports that have been submitted by officers before they are sent down to Crown Counsel. Our SPD, a jail. So our jail staff are our contract employees, and they're contracted from the commissionaires, and they provide 24-hour day or 24-hour, 365-day a year coverage. This unit is managed by Staff Sergeant Mark Chateau. And of interest, in 2019, we housed 373 prisoners, and in 2020, the numbers dropped to 326. Other groups that should be recognized are our administration secretaries, our quality control clerks, our CPIC clerks, our historical file clerk, and our police information checks. In closing, I would like to thank the board and the entire senior officer team for the collective support and collaboration over this past year. And thank you, Mayor Haynes and board and police board, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Daryl. And to see how the department's work is a big part of helping the board understand the department. Members of the board, questions for Daryl? You've done such a good job, Daryl. It's been great listening to the descriptions there. You're looking pretty good over in that office. Is that on Cadillac? Is that why we're seeing the traffic out the window?
No, it's Vernon behind me.
All right. Okay, there we go. Where are you calling from?
My office.
All right. Okay, great.
Yep.
So seeing no questions from the board, we'll go to the next one. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Carol and Scott. So committee reports, 8.1, Finance, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Murray, and Ms. Nimi. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From a finance perspective, the only thing I would pass on that we have now had confirmation that the numbers that we used in our budget report at our last meeting have now been confirmed. There were no adjustments. So I thank Joanne Cole for all the work that she's done with that. And we're now working on how to give Shelley more knowledge with regard to what goes on in finance.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Joe, thanks for all the work you're doing. And as we know, our budget has been approved by council. It's coming to the final approval, which nobody interferes with. I'd like to thank members of the board who were aware of that, and Scott for attending in person, just to make sure there wasn't any last minute slip ups. Thank you. Shelley, welcome to this committee. It's going to be a good run for you. Shall we go to the next item, 8.2, Governance and Strategic Planning. Linda and Shelley again.
Great. Well, thank you. The only update I have today is that we started the process of getting the new members up to speed. So I've sent a number of things. Poor Shelley is going to be, and Jacqueline have been inundated with a bunch of things to read, and we're going to have an initial session with the various committees with them as soon as they've absorbed all of that information. So the board orientation for the new members is coming along. And so that's all I have for governance at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving then to 8.3, Human Resources, Mary and Jacqueline. Mary.
Hi, thanks very much. Although the committee hasn't met, just a couple of items I'd like to mention. One is that the new recruitment video is now on the website. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, please do so. It is such a great video. And of course, everybody got the material about the Health and Wellness Committee, their newsletter that was very impressive. And we congratulate Nikki and the team involved in that. I think it's a real example for other police boards. I understand the new PDA, the Professional Development Assessment System, is now in place, and that's thanks, of course, to Deputy Dean Duffy, who's done so much work on it, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how it all rolls out. And also that the Staff Sergeant competition was completed. And I don't know whether, Chief, you can share with us who was successful in that or not at this point. Might be, or to let us know. I don't think.
Yes, we have published an order on that. I'd have to pull it up to give you all the names, and that list has been prioritized as well. And they're just currently working on the sergeant's list. So if you want to continue, I can find that order and bring it up.
That would be great. Thank you very much. Yeah, That's all from HR at the moment.
Okay, we'll come back to that one then. But 8.4, BCAPB. Back to Mary for information.
Right. A couple of things. One, I think everybody has got the summary of the meeting that we had with Minister Farnworth. That was a meeting with our President, Charla, and Patricia Barnes from the Vancouver Police Board and myself, and with Minister Farnworth and ADM Wayne Rideout and a number of other officials. A very good meeting, very supportive, and it seemed as though we were basically online, the issues that we're concerned about in terms of mental health issues, both in the community and with the police, are shared. Certainly the minister has agreed, as he talked about the last time we met, of the importance of it all, all of government approach and bringing all the folks together around those kinds of issues. And there's a couple of other items I'll mention in the in-camera meeting as well, but it was a very good meeting. The training, as we know, we have the session coming up, and Stephanie Johansson from the Vancouver Police Board, who's been organizing the session, I think it's June 4th, advised today there were a couple of spaces. So I think, Shelley, are you already signed up for that one? Yes, and I don't know whether Jacqueline was going to sign up for that as not. I know that there's been a lot of training sessions in a while, so, which really, if you'd like, Mr. Chair, just to go on to the CAPG report. And I think a number of us were on the April 27th session, the 4-hour session. It was on governance. I think it was very good, although I did find it a little bit long. And if anyone has any feedback on that, they haven't had a chance to relay, I know they would very much appreciate that. The next session is June the 30th, which is another, I think, 4-hour session as well. And hearing some feedback there. That's weird. And the annual conference, they haven't made a final determination, but it looks as though it's going to be virtual because people aren't going to want to travel, and probably October 1st and 2nd. But we will have further details about that certainly by the time of our next board meeting as well. That's it.
Thank you, Mary. I guess that's great. And I just mentioned that we have an additional training piece, as we know, education session at 5 till 6 on this coming Friday with David Pillings. It's a little bit out of sequence there to mention it in the open agenda. So we'll be seeing each other there. Should we go to the next one, which is 9, old business? Now there's two parts here. 9.1 is stakeholder outreach, input from Inspector Warren. But I also have a little note to mention once Inspector Warren's completed that. Over to you, Rob. Scott first. Do you want to introduce that, Scott? Item 9.1, stakeholder outreach.
Yes, sorry, I'm having trouble opening my screen up wider here. So as you know, Todd Bryant will be retiring at the end of this month, and his current portfolio is the OIC of the Community Engagement Division. Rob is moving from patrol to that portfolio, and as a result, he will be the department's representative on the Stakeholder Outreach Committee, which is the newest committee for the board. Rob has put some thought into that and has some ideas and suggestions. So I wanted to suggest, as opposed to kind of waiting for post-COVID and that committee to start meeting, that we could probably meet sooner rather than later and get Rob engaged. Rob takes over that portfolio effective June the 1st. So maybe on and around that date, we could do something. And there is an item coming up in the in-camera as well that will kind of fit nicely into that the mayor will speak to. So that was just more for information and Rob's state of readiness to start with that committee.
Thank you. Did Rob plan to speak as well, Scott?
I'm not sure. Rob, did you have any comments?
No, thanks. Just appreciate the opportunity. And I think once the committee members have a chance to have an initial meeting, we can maybe roundtable some of the different stakeholders we can bring to bear and see if we can set a really good direction for this going forward. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. I have two additional points, if I may make. Chief and I know, and some other members know, I've been working with the high school groups at their invitation coming out of Claremont. They want to create a Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee. We've been working on this for a while. It would have 3 aspects. One would be, interesting enough, at their suggestion, relationships with the police. And we're setting up a meeting of that, and that could certainly form one of the ingredients in the stakeholder community. I understand that they've got 3 schools signed up. There's a 4th school coming on board as well. So that would be very useful, I think, part of that. And they're very excited about this. Scott, do you want to speak to that briefly?
Yes, I have emailed them and suggested that Rob participate as well in that. And I don't know where we will sit with the school liaison aspect of that, but because that will be within Rob's portfolio, depending on when we meet, if we meet in advance of June the 1st, then we would have Todd come into that meeting. If it's after June the 1st, then Rob, because we want to ensure that we're including some dialogue about the school liaison program with those individuals. I think that'll be an important aspect, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I agree. And later on in the in-camera, we'll see something else as well. But I think this is interesting in that some jurisdictions we see some controversy around the role of the police and the school liaison with the school boards. Yet here, I think in large part, perhaps because of our previous work with the school liaison, we're getting positive feedback. So we'll park that piece for now. The third piece here, it's not really so much outreach to stakeholders, but new board members, Shelley and Jacqueline in particular, now you're on the board, you will be exposed to receiving some very emails that can be troubling. We had some recently from Mr. Parks. These are individuals that seem to have a need to reach out to members of council and the police board to raise what they perceive as genuine concerns. We don't need to go into detail now, but if you have any concerns or questions about those, please feel free to reach out to any of the board or to the chief. Some of them have a long history in this space, and I think reading them the first time, it's a little bit, ooh, what's going on? I'll leave it at that. Come now to adjournment, item 10, which is the date of the next meeting. I'm seeing June the 1st here, so we need a decision to adjourn and to agree that June the 1st is our next meeting.
And Mr. Mayor, sorry, I do have the list that Mary was looking for.
Okay, Scott, let's pause on the adjournment then till you deliver, please.
Yes, so this is a prioritized list which will be in effect from January the 1st, 2022 to June the 30th, 2023. There are 8 members in order of priority, and that's their state of readiness for promotion. From 1 to 8, Sergeant Andy Stewart, Sergeant Tracy Walt, Sergeant Trina Stevens, Sergeant John Grennan, Sergeant Doug Cripps, Sergeant Mike Millard, Sergeant Will Dodds, and Sergeant Cordell Phillips. And if I also may, Mr. Mayor, if I may, Inspector Harris, I just wanted to comment, and I'll try to keep this brief, but the portfolio he holds in administration is significant. He touched on some of it, but just to give you the Reader's Digest version, he's in charge of our entire fleet, all of our IT, building maintenance, quartermaster stores, which is expendable and accountable stores, records and court administrative services, animal control, freedom of information, exhibits and property control, all of the prime database management, the front desk staff, the jail, and everything else that doesn't have a place to land seems to land in the administration division. It's a significant portfolio. Few of the projects he's provided the superintendency of, the retaining wall that's just been built at the south end of the building, the perimeter fence that's forthcoming. I looked after all the new electronic card swipe access for the department, a new electronic inventory system for all our accountable stores, all the upgrades to our mobile data terminals in the cars, all the new car build outs for all the equipment that goes in the vehicles, new BMW motorcycles and those build outs, our closed circuit television camera system upgrade, the evergreening of all our laptops and PCs, the upgrade to the Kirby room he spoke of, a new auxiliary jailer program when we ran into some issues with contract there, and when we would have gaps and vacancies, he came up with a new program where we tapped into our reserve officers and gave them jobs as auxiliaries to relieve for the regular staff that are in there. He authored the draft LOU for the operational support officers. When we get into body worn cameras, which we hope to do, we will be involving Inspector Harris on that. He ran a pilot project for transcription automation, played a significant role in all the workstations, plexiglass, all the PPE for COVID. It's a significant portfolio, and I just want to say that Daryl has done an absolutely outstanding job, and I can't thank him enough. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes to keep all this running, and it's his responsibility, and he's done a phenomenal job.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Daryl. And Chief, thank you for recognizing the amazing team that you have. I know it's a signature of your leadership style, but I think we need to keep recognizing it because that helps build the morale and the stature of your staff. Well done. I'm getting a low battery signal here. I better start to charge this thing. So, but first of all, let's adjourn and get the date of the next meeting. Motion, please. June the 1st, adjournment. Moved by Shelley, second by Linda. Those in favour? Any opposed? Thank you. We're adjourned. I'm going to put a battery on my system.